What is up, Hammerheads? Welcome back to the Forge. Today we are continuing our basic knife making series, and we're going to be making the file knife. Now, if you do not have your file annealed yet, you need to do that. And if you have not made the flat bar tongs, then you need to go back, watch that video, and make those. A couple of things you're gonna need during this series while we make these knives, and you don't have to have them all today, but you will need them in further videos. You are going to need some drill bits, you're going to need some kind of pin stock material, and you're going to need some kind of handle material. A good place to find those, where I've ordered some of my stuff from, is knifekit.com. Has some really good Kydex and handle material. Jantz has really good handle material. And actually a place called Woodcraft. It's called the Toolbox where I live at in Chattanooga, Tennessee. But I know it's owned by a company called Woodcraft, and they have some pre-cut handle scales, and they also have pin stock material there. If you have one of those local in your area, you might be able to find some things at like a Lowe's or a Home Depot. Just any I know Ace Hardware sells brass pin for other things, but it is good brass pin that you can use for pin stock. Tubing works really well. Stainless, pieces work really well. Pretty much anything that's a solid piece will work as very good pin stock. Or if you find some kind of brass tubing, that works also. You'll just have to drill a little bit bigger hole. You will need some good drill bits. Carbide tip drill bits, or something for high carbon steel, or high, hardened steel. I can't remember how they're worded. You will need some kind of files or grinding material grinder. An angle grinder will do a lot of it. Except for when we're getting into kind of some really fine work on the edge. You'll have to be careful because you can burn up your material and have to reheat treat. And a drill of some kind to be able to drill the holes. You can punch holes, just like we've done in some past videos. I have a video on making a punch, so you'll just have to really work with the sizing of your material and getting your punch down to that size. But other than that, guys, those are just the basics you're going to need over the next couple of weeks. Remember, this is going to be a very in-depth video. Every video from here forth is going to be a little bit longer, possibly, because it's just detail of how to make a knife. I wanted to go into a ton of detail in these videos so everybody's seen all the steps, not just a few here and there and then there's a knife. I'm going to take you through all the processes. So without further ado, guys, let's get some metal hot and start making some cool stuff. Today we will be just focusing on forging the blade out and forging the handle out in rough form, and doing a little bit of grinding and shaping, or filing if you have a file, and shaping the tip and working on getting our bevel set. So today we're going to be rough forming the blade, rough forming the handle, getting our bevel set, and doing a little bit of grind work and a rough shaping out of the blade. So when we're done, it'll look pretty much like a knife. Alright guys, so let's get to it. Okay guys, so the first thing I'm doing is determining how long I want the blade and where I want the handle to be also. That's what this first hammer blow was determining those places. So I'm just forming where I want the finger groove to be for the handle. I like putting finger grooves on a lot of the knives. I like the aesthetic purpose of it, and I like the way the grip feels in your hand. And as you can see, I'll hammer a little bit and start thinning the metal down, and then I lay it flat and hammer those quilts down so it won't quilt over on itself and cause a crack later down the road.
down the material right here in some of the spots and just forming out the way the handle needs to be. What I'm thinking is going to be a cool grip design. Alright guys, you'll see me hold the material up a couple times lengthwise, looking down what would be the spine of the blade, or looking down the edge. What I'm doing is check to make sure all the material's straight. So there's no warps in it, it's not twisting on me or anything. And you want to do that as you're making your knife so that you don't end up with a big mess a little bit later down the road. So here guys, we're just starting to form the tip of the blade and starting to work out what our edge and everything is going to look like. So guys, I cut off about 2 or 3 inches of the file where the blade was going to be because it was just too long for what I was wanting to do in this particular knife. If you're wanting to use the whole length of your file and make a nice chopping knife, you can. I was going for more of a camp knife, bushcraft style knife feel with this particular blade.
Okay guys, I'm taking a quick minute while I'm letting this material cool down to make you promise me something. You will not quench this blade in anything until it's time to harden it. You got to be patient. If you quench it in oil, you've now hardened your blade, and you're going to have to go through all the annealing process before you can start hammering on it again. If you quench this blade in water, I don't care what you've seen on TV, read anywhere, with it being a file knife, with this particular material, it will break it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, it will shatter it. So guys, I want y'all to promise me, put I promise in the comments that you will not quench this blade until it's time to do it in a later video. You just got to be patient. This material's super hard, and every process, I mean, we got to go through every step. And like I said in the beginning, it's going to be a longer process. So I'm going to let this material cool down, and then we're going to start shaping with the grinder and with the sander a little bit to get the roughed out blade profile that we're looking for.
Alright guys, so all I'm doing here is just cleaning up the bevel a little bit and straightening out a small bend that I had in the blade. And getting my bevels a little more defined also. As you can see, I'm going over the edge of the anvil so I don't mar up my anvil as I'm hitting. If you're not used to hitting on an angle like that on an edge of a blade, you can miss and really put a big dent in your anvil. Also, going over the edge of the anvil like that will help push your edge tighter together so it's less that you have to grind later. You'll also notice, guys, as I'm fullering out my bevels, you're going to see me turn the material up on the edge and hit the camera, but turn the material up on the edge and push this back flat. As you're fullering out your bevels, the tip automatically starts pushing upward towards the spine, and it makes a weird saber curve in your blade. And if you're going for that look, that's fine, but if you're not, make sure you start hammering that down to keep it straight, because if you don't do that, it'll be really hard to fix in the end when your edge is very thin.
Alright guys, let's get real for a minute and talk about what we learned today. First and foremost, you can see that I'm holding the blade. I did not quench it. All I did was let it cool down for the last 20 or 30 minutes so that it was cool enough for me to handle. Now, if you can hold it and it's still a little warm, then you can cool it down. But if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to quench. That is the rule when you're making a knife and you're keeping it annealed, okay? We got our bevels roughed in and our tip on our blade. So generally whenever I'm roughing in my bevels, I will hammer on them and get my tip roughed in. But you've seen that I didn't actually forge out my tip. And a lot of times when you're forging a tip in a material, it'll quilt over on itself and it'll cause a crack in your edge and cause a crack down your blade somewhere. So generally what I'll do is get it close and then I will grind it in to the shape that I'm looking for. I do the same concept whenever I'm making my bevels, is I'll draw them out and get them roughed in, and then I'll cut them in a little bit so I know roughly better where they're at. So when I come back to the anvil, I can draw those bevels out a little bit more. But all in all, guys, the knife is turning out really nice. So what will you need for the next video? We are going to be drilling our holes for our handles. We are going to be hardening our blade. So you will need your drill bits, or if you're punching it, you're going to need the punch to be able to do that. If you do not know how to punch a hole in a piece of metal, I have in my, pretty sure the hook making video, we punch a hole. And I'm thinking the tong video, we punch a hole also in part 2 of that, but I can't remember. If for some reason you see it or you can't find it, let me know in the comments. And if I need to just do a quick video before we drill our holes for the knife handles, then I will show how to punch a hole in a piece of flat bar. Whether it's hard steel or mild steel, it's the exact same way. You will also need a quench medium. So I use a vegetable oil. You can use just about any kind of oil. Some people use motor oil. I personally don't like motor oil, mainly for the health benefits of the smoke and everything with it, but you can use it if that's all you have. I personally do not use it. I also don't recommend to use it. I'm just letting you know that is an option. I use vegetable oil. Whatever somebody fried a turkey or done like some kind of fry or whatever, it smells really good. It does smell like turkey the first 20 times you quench something, or french fries or whatever it was, but it's also not harmful. And if you spill some, it's not harmful to the environment. So guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave any questions or comments, down below, and I'll try to get to those and answer any of those that I can. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one. God bless. Keep hammering.